Ladies and gentlemen, you ever been in a place where you were doing everything you could and it still felt like nothing was working? You're broke, you're tired, and worst of all, you're alone. But let me tell you something right now. That's not the end of your story. That's the beginning of your breakthrough. Sometimes God isolates you not to punish you, but to prepare you. You're not being buried, you're being planted. And the difference between buried and planted is expectation. Buried means it's over. Planted means something greater is about to grow. When you find yourself walking a road that feels lonely, silent, and uncertain, you might think life has turned its back on you. You look around and realize nobody's clapping, nobody's cheering, and nobody seems to understand what you're carrying. But here's the truth. Sometimes God pulls you away from the noise, not because he's forgotten you, but because he's preparing you. Isolation isn't punishment, it's preparation. The silence you hate right now is the space where your greatness is being formed. Every person who's ever done something extraordinary has walked through a season of being alone. That's where the real work happens. When nobody sees the hours you put in, the tears you wipe away, the prayers you whisper when the world is asleep. That's where the foundations of success are built. Because when you're surrounded by applause, you perform. But when you're surrounded by silence, you develop. Here's a truth most people run from. Growth is a lonely process. You can't take everybody where you're going. Some people were only meant to walk with you for a season, not a lifetime. And when you try to drag them into the next level, they don't grow with you. They hold you back. So when life starts pruning your circle, don't panic. Don't chase what walked away. What left your life wasn't loss, it was clarity. God is clearing your environment so he can expand your assignment. When you're alone, you start hearing what truly matters. The noise of the world fades, and you begin to recognize your own voice, your own calling, your own mission. That's when you start realizing that purpose doesn't need permission. You don't need a crowd to confirm your vision. You just need faith to start moving when nobody's watching, because the same people who don't see your struggle will one day witness your success, and they'll call it luck, but you'll know it was built in silence. Sometimes that isolation feels heavy because you mistake separation for rejection. You start believing maybe you're not good enough, maybe the dream is too big, maybe God forgot. But he didn't forget. He's just working on you in private before he reveals you in public. A seed doesn't grow in sunlight first. It grows underground where nobody can see it. It's dark, it's quiet, it's hidden. But that's where life begins. You are that seed. You are not buried. You are planted. And when your season comes, you'll sprout in a way that even the people who left won't be able to ignore. It's easy to believe when everyone's cheering for you, but faith becomes real when you keep going even when no one notices. When you show up every day broken, tired, still believing that what you're building matters, that's when heaven takes notice. The test of greatness is obedience in obscurity. Can you keep walking when the path isn't clear? Can you keep working when there's no applause? Can you keep believing when your results don't match your effort? That's the mark of a leader. That's the training ground of champions. You see, isolation strips away the distractions that keep you average. It forces you to face yourself, your habits, your fears, your doubts. It reveals your weaknesses, but it also strengthens your spirit because you can't lead others until you learn to lead yourself. You can't guide a crowd until you can conquer your own chaos. And that only happens when you've spent time alone, wrestling with your own reflection. The greatest battles aren't fought in stadiums, they're fought in silence, in the moments where nobody's watching but God. So when you're in that season where you feel unseen, underappreciated, and overworked, don't run from it. Lean into it. Because this is the place where you're becoming. Every tear you shed, every prayer you whisper, every quiet decision to keep going, it's all building the foundation of the future you asked for. This is the part of your story that people won't understand until later. They'll see your results, but they'll never know the nights you almost quit. They'll see your success, but they'll never know the struggle behind it. And when that moment comes, when the lights finally turn on and the world starts to notice, you'll stand there, not as someone who stumbled into success, but as someone who was shaped by solitude. You'll look back at those lonely nights and realize they were never meant to break you. They were designed to build you. That season of isolation was heaven's workshop. Every pain had a purpose. Every setback was strategy. Every quiet moment was sharpening your vision for what's coming next. So if you're walking alone right now, if you feel left behind or overlooked, let this truth anchor you. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. God hides the greatest treasures until they're ready to shine. You might feel unseen, but you are not forgotten. You're just in the making. Keep building in silence. Keep trusting through the stillness, because the same silence that feels like a storm today will one day sound like success tomorrow. That's what isolation does. It refines you until the version of you that was unsure becomes unstoppable. You're not losing. You're learning. You're not forgotten. You're being forged. You're not alone. You're in alignment. So don't despise your season of isolation. It's shaping you into someone capable of handling the blessing that's coming. Being broke doesn't mean you failed. It means you're in training. It means you're standing at the starting line of your transformation. Too many people see being broke as a curse, as something shameful or final. But what if I told you that being broke is one of the greatest classrooms you'll ever step into? Because when you have nothing, you start learning what truly matters. You stop relying on what you can buy and start developing what you can build. You stop chasing quick wins and start mastering lasting principles. Broke is not the end of your story. It's the foundation of your education. When you have money, it's easy to disguise your mistakes. You can cover up poor habits with comfort. But when you're broke, every weakness becomes visible. That's not punishment. That's revelation. The struggle exposes the parts of you that need growth. It forces you to look in the mirror and ask, what do I need to change? Because when you're down to nothing, you finally see what you've been ignoring. The pain of being broke isn't meant to destroy you. It's meant to discipline you. You see, money doesn't change who you are. It magnifies who you already are. If you're careless with $100, you'll be reckless with 100,000. If you can't manage little, you won't be trusted with much. That's why God often allows you to experience seasons of lack, not because he wants to withhold blessings, but because he wants you to learn stewardship. He wants you to understand how to create, sustain, and multiply. Because when you master the mindset of abundance while you have nothing, you'll never fear losing everything again. When you're broke, creativity is born. You start thinking differently, seeing opportunities where others see obstacles. The absence of money pushes you into the presence of innovation. You start asking better questions. How can I serve more people? How can I solve more problems? How can I make value so undeniable that money has no choice but to find me? That's how entrepreneurs are made. They don't start rich, they start resourceful. They learn to trade time, talent, and tenacity for transformation. Every successful person you admire once had a season of broke, a season of eating noodles, a season of rejection, a season where their dream looked too expensive and their reality looked too small. But they didn't give up. They learned from that season. They let it teach them patience, humility, and hunger. Because hunger is the greatest motivator. Hunger keeps you up when others sleep. Hunger makes you study when others party. Hunger fuels the fire that money alone can't ignite. Being broke teaches you faith, not the kind you talk about, but the kind you live through. The kind where you still show up, still work hard, still believe, even when the numbers don't make sense. It's in that season where you learn to trust vision more than visibility. You can't see the breakthrough yet, but you know it's coming. You can't touch the reward yet, but you can feel the purpose growing stronger inside you. That's faith in action. That's the lesson only the broke classroom can teach. When you're broke, you begin to separate needs from wants. You start realizing that half the things you used to complain about were distractions. You stop chasing luxury and start pursuing legacy. You stop trying to impress people and start trying to impact people. Broke humbles you in a way that nothing else can. It strips away ego, pride, and illusion until only truth remains. And when you rebuild from that truth, your success will have roots so deep that no storm can shake it. Let's be real. When you're broke, you feel invisible. People stop calling, opportunities vanish, and your confidence starts slipping. But here's what you must remember. Invisibility doesn't mean insignificance. The world may not see your potential, but potential isn't meant to be seen. It's meant to be developed. This is the time to dig deep, to build skills, to study, to plan, to prepare. Don't waste your broke season complaining about what you don't have. Use it to master what you do have, your mind, your voice, your discipline, your determination. If you can learn to handle frustration without quitting, you're building the emotional muscle that millionaires rely on. If you can stay consistent when there's no applause, you're developing the endurance that every leader needs. The broke season isn't designed to punish your pocket. It's designed to strengthen your character, because what's the use of getting rich if you don't have the maturity to maintain it? So if you're in that place right now where money's tight, bills are high, and you're wondering when it's going to turn around, don't despise it. Learn from it. Let it refine you, because every challenge carries a message. Broke is teaching you discipline. Broke is teaching you focus. Broke is teaching you gratitude. Broke is teaching you how to build without depending on anything outside of yourself. This is your proving ground. You're not losing, you're learning. Every time you choose persistence over pity, you're growing. Every time you turn pressure into purpose, you're evolving. And one day, you'll look back and realize that being broke was the greatest investment you ever made, because it taught you how to build wealth from within before it ever showed up in your account. When you're broke, you're not disqualified. You're being developed. The question isn't, why am I broke? The real question is, what is this season trying to teach me? Because once you learn that, you'll never be broke again, not in your finances, not in your mindset, not in your spirit. You ever wake up in the morning and feel that deep heaviness, that exhaustion that makes you question if all your effort is even worth it. You're pushing every day, showing up when it hurts, working when nobody's watching, and yet the results seem slow. That's when the enemy of your destiny whispers, you're too tired. Maybe it's time to quit. But hear me, being tired doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're growing. It means you're stretching beyond what you used to be capable of. Growth is never comfortable, and progress never feels easy. If you're tired, that's the proof you're doing something that matters. Tiredness isn't the enemy, it's evidence. It's the body's signal that you're in motion, that you're using muscles, physical, emotional, and spiritual, that have been dormant for too long. You can't build strength without resistance, and you can't become stronger without fatigue. The moment you step outside your comfort zone, your energy will be tested. But that test is temporary, and the transformation it creates is permanent. The process of becoming your best self will wear you down before it lifts you up. But that's the price of evolution. Most people quit not because they're incapable, but because they misread exhaustion as a sign to stop rather than a sign to keep going. Champions feel the same fatigue everyone else feels, but they've learned the secret. Tiredness is part of training. You don't build endurance in moments of ease. You build it when you're running on fumes, but still refuse to stop. When you're tired, you discover the difference between motivation and commitment. Motivation is a feeling, commitment is a decision, and tiredness reveals which one you're living by. There's a reason a diamond comes from pressure. There's a reason steel becomes strong only after fire. The fatigue you feel right now is shaping you for what's next. You can't handle elevation without experiencing exhaustion. You can't lead others until you've learned to lead yourself through fatigue. Every great leader, every great builder, every great believer has felt tired. They've cried in silence, doubted their own strength, and wondered if it was worth it. But what separates them from everyone else is that they kept going anyway. They decided that, tired or not, they would finish what they started. Here's the truth. The reason you're tired isn't because you're weak. It's because you've outgrown your old level. You're carrying new weight, stretching into new territory, learning new lessons. The work that used to be easy no longer challenges you because you've already mastered it. You're climbing a higher mountain now, and new heights require new strength. So don't curse the climb. Thank it. Every step is developing endurance. Every struggle is expanding capacity. Every sleepless night is proof that you're serious about your calling. When you're tired, it's easy to forget why you started. You start focusing on how far you still have to go instead of how far you've come. But let this sink in. The version of you that started this journey couldn't handle what you're doing now. You've grown in ways you can't even see. That's why it feels heavy, because growth always weighs more than stagnation. You're building spiritual and emotional muscle, and just like in the gym, the burn is a sign of progress. The pain you feel today is the strength you'll rely on tomorrow. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is not to stop, but to rest with purpose. Rest isn't quitting, it's recharging. Even God rested after creation, not because he was weary, but to set an example that rest is part of the rhythm of greatness. Don't confuse rest with retreat. A warrior rests to regain strength for the next battle, not to surrender the war. When you pause to breathe, you're not backing down, you're building back up. So don't feel guilty for taking a moment. Just make sure the pause has purpose, and then get back up stronger. When you're tired, that's when your mind starts lying to you. It tells you that you're not making progress, that your effort doesn't matter, that your dream isn't realistic. But remember, fatigue distorts focus. Never make a permanent decision in a temporary state of exhaustion. Instead, remind yourself that your body may be tired, but your spirit is not broken. You have more strength in you than you realize. You've survived every hard day before this one, and you'll conquer this one too. There will be moments when the only thing you have left is your why. Hold on to that. The why will carry you when your energy runs out, when the weight of your goals feels too heavy. Remember who you're doing it for. Maybe it's your family, your future, your faith, or the promise God placed inside you. That why is the fuel that never runs dry. Keep it close. Keep it burning. Because when everything else fades, your purpose will still push you forward. So yes, you're tired, but that's okay. You're tired because you're doing the work others are too afraid to do. You're tired because you're fighting battles most people would run from. You're tired because you're transforming. And transformation takes everything out of you before it fills you with everything you need. You're not stuck, you're being strengthened. You're not weak, you're being weaponized. Every ounce of fatigue is forming a version of you that can carry more, lead more, and become more. So keep showing up even when your legs shake. Keep believing even when your heart is weary. Because the tired version of you today is the triumphant version of you tomorrow. You're not breaking down, you're breaking through. Every time you feel like you can't go any further, remind yourself this exhaustion is not your end, it's your elevation. Keep going. You're almost there. There's never going to be a perfect time. There's never going to be a day when all the lights turn green, when every doubt disappears, when every resource you need is sitting right in front of you. The people who win in life are not the ones who wait until they're ready. They're the ones who move while they're still uncertain. The truth is readiness is a myth. You don't get ready and then you start and then you become ready. Waiting for the perfect moment is the most elegant form of procrastination. The world doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards action. Every dream, every idea, every vision has an expiration date if you keep waiting for permission. The longer you hesitate, the colder your fire gets. Every day you delay, someone else with less talent but more courage is already doing the thing you're still thinking about. You're not losing because you're not capable. You're losing because you're still waiting for conditions to be convenient. But success doesn't come to the comfortable. It comes to the courageous. It comes to those who step out in faith when the future is foggy, when the numbers don't add up, when nobody claps yet. You've got to learn to move even when your hands are shaking. You've got to learn to speak even when your voice cracks, because the people who create impact aren't fearless. They've just learned how to act despite fear. Fear doesn't mean stop. It means go armed. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the mastery of movement in the middle of it. The truth is, action is the antidote to anxiety. The moment you move, the moment you take that first step, clarity begins to form. But as long as you stay still, doubt multiplies. You don't need the whole map to start walking. You just need enough light to take the next step. Most people want guarantees. They want to know it will work before they even begin. But life doesn't work like that. You don't get guarantees. You get opportunities. You earn confidence by collecting experiences. Every mistake, every setback, every small win teaches you something that preparation alone never could. The classroom can teach you the theory of success, but the battlefield teaches you the truth of success. There's knowledge that only comes from movement. And if you wait until you're ready, you'll never know what you were capable of becoming. The best time to start is not when everything aligns. It's when your conviction outweighs your comfort. Every great success story starts with someone who made a decision without certainty, and then they didn't have all the answers. They didn't have all the money. They didn't have all the connections. But they had faith, they had a dream, and they had the audacity to move. That's the formula. Decision before evidence, action before applause, faith before results. That's how destiny is written. You've got to understand, movement attracts miracles. The moment you act, resources begin to find you. Doors begin to open. People begin to appear. The universe responds to motion. But if you stay frozen, even the blessings meant for you can't locate you. God doesn't guide those who sit still. He guides those who walk. You can't steer a parked car. You've got to get moving, even if it's slow, even if it's messy, even if it doesn't look like much right now. The first version of your dream won't be perfect, but perfection is not the goal. Progress is. Every great builder starts with rough drafts. Every masterpiece begins with mistakes. Every legend begins as a learner. So stop disqualifying yourself because you're not there yet. You're not supposed to be polished in the beginning. You're supposed to be passionate. The purpose of starting is to learn what you don't know yet. And every failure along the way isn't a stop sign. It's feedback. You're not failing. You're collecting data that will make you unstoppable later. There's a quote that says, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. That's more than motivation. That's a formula for mastery. You don't need more money to start. You need more movement. You don't need more approval. You need more action. Every person who ever made a mark on the world began with uncertainty. They didn't wait to feel confident. They decided to move until confidence caught up. Confidence is built through action, not contemplation. So when you feel that hesitation creeping in, when fear whispers, you're not ready, talk back to it. Tell it, maybe not, but I'm doing it anyway, because the real danger isn't failing. The real danger is never finding out what you could have become if you just tried. Playing it safe keeps you small. Playing it bold expands your capacity. Every time you take action, even a small one, you're rewriting your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who dreams and start seeing yourself as someone who does. And when you look back, you'll realize that all the doors that seemed locked started opening after you moved toward them. The fear that looked huge began shrinking the moment you faced it. The confidence you were waiting for showed up only after you took the first leap, because success doesn't chase the hesitant. It follows the hungry. The world doesn't belong to the people who wait for the perfect plan. It belongs to those who build the plan while walking through the storm. So do it before you're ready. Do it while you're scared. Do it while you're uncertain. Because the longer you wait, the louder your fear becomes. Take that first step, even if your knees are shaking, even if your voice trembles, even if nobody believes in you yet. Because action is faith made visible. And once you move, heaven moves with you. There comes a moment in every journey when everything feels like it's falling apart, when the weight gets too heavy, the road gets too long, and the dream feels too far away. You start asking yourself, why am I even doing this? Why is this so hard? Why does it feel like everything is breaking? But here's what most people never realize. Sometimes the breaking is the blessing. Sometimes the breakdown is not a signal that you've lost, but that you're about to rise. You can't have a breakthrough without a breakdown first, because pressure always comes before power, and breaking always comes before becoming. When a seed is planted, it has to break before it can grow. It sits in the dark, covered by dirt, unseen and forgotten. The outer shell cracks and it looks like destruction, but that cracking is creation. That breaking is how new life begins. The same principle applies to you. That situation that's tearing you apart right now is not the end of your story. It's the moment where the old version of you is being stripped away so that the new, stronger version can emerge. Growth requires breaking. Transformation requires tearing. The cocoon must split for the butterfly to fly. When life starts to shake everything you thought was stable, it's easy to panic. You look at the pieces of your plan falling apart and think, it's over. But what if it's just beginning? What if God is allowing everything to crumble because the foundation you built on was too small for what's coming next? Sometimes the only way to expand your capacity is for life to stretch you past your limits. Sometimes he lets you break not to destroy you, but to rebuild you correctly. Because if he gave you the blessing before you were ready, you'd lose it. So instead, he prepares you through pressure. You have to understand the pain you're feeling right now is not punishment. It's preparation. You're being shaped in silence. You're being refined through resistance. The tears you cry today are watering the soil of your tomorrow. Every time you say, I can't take this anymore, yet you keep going anyway, heaven takes notice. You're not being tested to prove your weakness. You're being tested to reveal your strength. Your breakdown moments are where your real character is formed, because what's inside of you can only be proven under pressure. Think about it. When you're winning, you learn little. But when you're struggling, you learn everything. The breakdown season teaches you endurance, patience, faith, and humility. It humbles you enough to depend on God instead of your own strength. It strips you of pride, distractions, and false security. It pushes you to a point where your only option is growth. And it's in that place, the place where you think you've got nothing left, that you finally tap into your real power. Because strength isn't built when life is easy. It's built when life is heavy. When everything feels like it's falling apart, that's when most people quit. They walk away right before the miracle. But if you can just hold on through the breakdown, if you can trust that the pain has a purpose, you'll discover that the breakdown is actually breaking you open. It's removing what's not meant to stay. The fear, the doubt, the small thinking, the toxic habits. It's creating space for the new version of you to breathe. You can't receive something bigger while you're still clinging to what's broken. So when life takes something from you, it's not subtraction, it's preparation for multiplication. Sometimes you have to lose everything you thought mattered to realize what truly does. You have to hit rock bottom to find your foundation again. The breakdown strips you of everything temporary so that you can rebuild on what's eternal. You stop chasing approval and start chasing purpose. You stop worrying about control and start learning surrender. You stop trying to be strong in your own power and start discovering that divine strength that never runs out. That's the power that carries you through the darkest nights. That's the breakthrough waiting behind your breakdown. The reason the breakdown hurts so much is because it's pulling you away from comfort. You're leaving behind a version of yourself that can't come with you to the next level. You're outgrowing environments, relationships, and patterns that used to feel safe. Growth feels like grief because you're shedding the familiar. But once the pain passes, you'll realize the new version of you was worth every tear. The pressure that's crushing you today is molding you into someone unstoppable tomorrow. So if it feels like you're breaking, don't fight it. Flow with it. Don't curse the process that's meant to promote you. The very thing that looks like destruction might be your transformation. Every champion has been broken before they were built. Every diamond has been under pressure before it could shine. Every testimony starts as a test. You can't have breakthrough without breaking something. Your old habits, your old fears, your old limits. When you finally walk through that storm, when you rise from those ashes, you'll see that the breakdown was never the end. It was the doorway. It wasn't there to defeat you. It was there to define you. Because you can't become the version of yourself that your destiny requires without letting the old you fall apart. That's the hidden gift of pain. It purifies purpose. So yes, you might feel like everything's collapsing, but remember this, what's falling apart is not your life, it's your limits. What's breaking down is not your dream, it's your doubt. What's ending is not your journey, it's just the chapter before your rise. Don't quit when it hurts, hold on when it burns, because right after the breaking comes the becoming. And that's when you'll finally realize every breakdown you survived was just heaven clearing the path for your breakthrough. So keep going. Do it alone if you have to. Do it broke if you have to. Do it tired if you have to. Because one day, the people who ignored you will say they knew you. One day, the struggle you hate will become the story you tell to inspire others. Every seed that grows has to break before it blooms. Maybe right now you're breaking, but that's okay. You're not breaking down, you're breaking through. Remember, success doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who work while they wait. Keep sowing, keep believing, keep moving, because your season of isolation is about to become your season of elevation. Don't stop now. You're closer than you think.